about the planet, and it's an important stake. So we're going to talk about CPR of the planet, or for the planet. We're going to talk about biodiversity, regeneration, and I give an example. In my company, ActionJ, all our algorithms are based on nature. So I'll come to that in a minute. So we really think that nature is the ultimate design, or the ultimate system designer. And we all know, just look outside, all the solutions are there. So think about that. So I will let the panelists present themselves. They all have a slide because they're all busy with a project. So help me with that. They have 2 minutes for each of their projects and present themselves. So it's like a little pitch of 2 minutes. I just reduce it to give. I just reduce it by 1 minute, so we have more Q&A because it's very interesting. So they all have different projects, and you'll see and you'll understand afterwards why they have different projects and what we're covering for the planet. So we'll start with Marina. Could you please introduce yourself? And you have your slide on the back, and the slides will be also available. So please tell me what you're doing that is very interesting. In 2 minutes.
I got it right here.
I'm a little bit stressed with my English, so I asked to ChatGPT what I have to do. He told me smile and talk very slowly. Sorry, maybe I take a little bit more time than 3 minutes. You know that people measure carbon emission, waters, but biodiversity is the foundation of life, completely invisible. So what we don't measure, we cannot protect. So that's why we lost 70% of biodiversity in only 50 years. And with over 70% of living people in cities, the question is, how do we make cities more resilient and support economic growth? So we built Butterfly Box during the COVID. The cities were silent, and suddenly life returned. You remember that certainly. It proved that something important is powerful, and the nature can recover fast if we take the chance. So we built Butterfly, a system to restore habitat and measure the results. Butterfly Box is an urban biodiversity monitoring network that we built with women in prison at the beginning of the story. We deploy connected habitat in cities. People observed observation of fauna and flora. How does it work? We have two products that you cannot see really but it's too small, but anyway. It's Butterfly Home, is a small box biodiversity for municipalities, schools and companies, and the Butterfly Hotel, the monumental structure for municipalities and corporate cities, companies. So we take the pictures and the photos analyzed by AI to identify species and track ecologic indicators and map cities, biodiversity. The data is shared for scientific research to make a robust data set. The result is concrete for cities. They make smarter mapping, planning, and companies can measurable concretely action for promote CSRD reporting, and for the citizen, of course, as an easy way to reconnect to nature. So we have deployed now about 1,000 bubble of biodiversity in 50 companies and 50 schools, 5 cities. So we are here in Davos to find some investors, some strategic partners, some responsible companies, some pioneering cities, and together we can deploy an international network of bubble of biodiversity. And who wants to be part of this solution of biodiversity, who wants to share with me that mission that I really loved. Nature is calling us, and let's answer what we can do, because we are nature.
Thank you, Marina. So everybody who wants to put boxes like that on their balcony is already making a difference. So I think that's very important. So thank you for that, for your passion. Let's go to Katerina. Yes, I'm not going to say anything. You need to introduce yourself.
Thank you. As you can see, it's like several projects, but all of them are connected to exploration, data, education, and the system change. So to exploration, I'm a member of the Explorers Club, also board of directors there. And what you learn through expedition and what you can take that into technology, to understanding in both business and in life is extraordinary. It's not just about looking at things outside, but it's like really go into the system and develop things from the inside of the planet. Through the gate to the Arctic, we are connecting youth and scientists up in our very special Arctic, and what that means for the rest of the world. It's a very fragile place, and we think about understanding that. You need to be there. You need to talk from the scientists to talk through the youth. They can talk in a language that people actually understand. The same when it comes to the data. We have lots of data when it comes to the climate, but we need to visualize it and use it in a way that people actually can take home with them in their normal life to actually understand it and visualize it in a way that we can actually do a difference. With Clean Sea Solutions, I'm the founder of Clean Sea Solutions as well. It's a technology company where we build hardware and robots to clean up marine litters in harbors and waterfront areas. We want to stop the plastic before it reaches the big ocean, become a microplastic or turning down to the seabed, and it's so difficult to take up. So you have an autonomous boat, work a little bit like a robot vacuum cleaner on the sea surface, go and collecting plastic waste and go back and empty itself. We have a jetty, a normal floating jetty that can use in your harbor, that also collecting waste. And we have the AI system to detect what kind of plastic are we taking up, how much are we taking up, and what is the impact about this. I'm the CEO of NASA Hunch for Norway and Europe. It's a program where students on high school work with real-time project for NASA. So they build hardware, software. We have a culinary program, different that they're working with, that they're actually using on the International Space Station and in space. And I think it's very crucial that they use learning like real-time projects to educate them in a way that we can actually do a difference.
Thank you, Katerina. Amazing. And I see some younger boys over here. Please talk to her about NASA Hunch. So next person is Werner. Okay. Hi, Werner. So we had already a couple of, I think it's Werner, I don't know, it's the slides at the side. Yes, I had a good gamble. So we now go back from the sea, we're going back to land. So Werner, please tell us your story, that's also very amazing.
Yes, thank you, Jean-Philippe. I do not know if it's my glasses or the scanner. But it's not so clear, but okay, anyway.
We can see it, we can see it.
What we are doing is actually we're re-greening the desert, or greening the desert, by restoring ecosystems and improve livelihoods. And we do, of course, carbon by reforestation projects, where we capture carbon into the tree, and of course also the more sustainable carbon, the soil organic carbons, where we combine that with biochar and silicates, where we also see that the captation of carbon is 5 times much higher than just planting a tree. But we go behind carbon. We do think it's not only trees, but also biodiversity, what is very, very important in your forest, not just between brackets plantations, but a real forest system. I always say we never, we do not plant trees, we develop forests, meaning also that we try to realize social economical impacts. And those social economic impacts is the buy-in to protect our forests, so people also are going to garden the forest and so on, because a forest is a revenue for them, with all kinds of cash crop trees, like for example the Arabic gum, the Acacia Senegal, who produce Arabic gum. It's a commodity that you can sell on the international market. So people do have a certain income. Another example is Balanites. It's a tree that produces oil for cosmetica industry. So that's beyond carbon. And we are doing that in the most difficult areas in the world, in the Great Green Wall project of the African Union, where we started in Burkina Faso and now also in Senegal for the last 5 years, where it's a semi-arid area, meaning rainfall is only between 200 and 400 millimeters of water, but where it's really necessary to do reforestation, because when we wait for another 30, 40 years, it will become desert. And we have now also an academic chair with the KU Leuven, one of our biggest universities in Belgium, where we are looking for or creating data when the forest is very, very young. And what we see is always after 5 years, between 5 years and 8 years, then you become to have data. So with 2 PhD students and 1 master, we are trying now to collect those data from the first year. And this data will be open source. With AI, of course, AI, we are developing that AI project, but it's open source. Why? And I heard it also in the other panel, because of trust and transparency. We are a non-profit organization. We did on his own 17,000 hectares, but we are too small to do the whole world. So we hope that we are copied by other organizations to do also reforestation projects in the Great Green Wall. That's it.
Thank you, Anna. And you got your 3 minutes. Huh? All right, so we continue from the earth towards the air again. So, Antoine, please tell us what amazing you're doing.
Okay, thank you.
Instead
thank
of
you
making nature great again.
Yes, next to nature, of course. Hello, everyone. I'm the co-founder of AirScan. As AirScan says it, we're scanning air. Okay, that's what we do. Why are we scanning air? It's very simple, you know. Approximately, I mean, it's probably the most underrated environmental problem around the world, and there are other very important issues as well, like microplastics, etc. But air quality is very important, and today, approximately 8 million people die every year prematurely due to poor air quality. Okay, so that's really important. A lot of people don't realize this, but air quality, you don't see it. Okay, and that's the biggest problem. So what we do is we try to make it visible. What you don't see, we try to make it visible with data by installing in every company, and we're creating right now in Belgium the first. It's kind of co-creation of the first air quality monitoring network in Belgium, okay, where we install air quality monitoring systems in as many companies as possible. Then, once they are installed, we make the air quality monitoring systems that are outside communicate with the air quality monitoring systems inside, and by communicating with each other together, we can influence ventilation. Ventilation is a lot of energy costs for companies. A lot of offices ventilate 24 hours on 24 hours. What we do is we make sure that you ventilate at the right time, because there are a lot of pollution peaks, you know, in the morning due to traffic, for example, and if your office is close to a busy road, you know, it's not very interesting to bring in polluted air in your office. So we make sure that you get the air in at the right moment thanks to data. And the next step is connect all these data points around Belgium, and of course the ambition is to duplicate this towards other countries, is to make all this data communicate with each other to serve a global, first a Belgian network, to also help buildings that don't have the means to buy this type of data, for example, for schools, for social housing, etc., is to really influence, the air quality that they will breathe, because children are very sensible. For example, we measured air quality in classes in Belgium, and 84% of the classes in Belgium have too high PM, particulate matter. Okay, 84%. So that's beyond the limits of the World Health Organization. So this is unacceptable, because we send children to schools to learn and to develop themselves, but actually they're being poisoned approximately 30 hours a week because they're in class. So these are the things we try to do, and we're going to launch, next to this, also a very big project of rolling out air purifiers in the classes that are beyond the WHO threshold, to make sure that every child in Belgium can breathe clean air. So this is a very brief picture of what we're doing, but our ambition is really to improve air quality and the efficiency, because maybe, as you know as well, as soon as you reach a certain point of air pollution in a building, you lose approximately 10% of your efficiency. So imagine if you have 100 employees in your company of staff, it's as if 10 people are not showing up at work. So it's not only health, it's also efficiency, and it's also environment. So that's what we try to do, is make the invisible visible. Thank you.
Thank you, Antoine. So we go from the air, and we stay in the air, and we go to Don, but we go from Belgium to Houston, but you're here. So please, Don, tell me what you're doing and what your project is.
Well, first of all, I want to thank you for inviting us, and I think everyone should put their hands together for
Thank you.
this all together. So I appreciate being here. I'm the commissioner. All right, how's this?
Straight,
Is
straight.
this much better?
Yeah.
All right, I'm the commissioner of the World Air League, and I'm also a member of the Explorers Club. And it is an honor to be a member of the club, because we push boundaries forward around the world. It is our goal to make change a part of our environment and who we are. What I'm doing right now is I'm organizing 17 cities around the world to be our stage, our theater, our arena for the Sky Games, which will be the Formula One of the skies. We're going to take their monuments, their skyscrapers, we're going to turn them into our setting, our stage for racing, and our racing will be chariots, and the chariots are going to be zeppelins and airships. This is nothing but epic. We are going to take 17 cities around the world, and I'm going to describe London, and then you can imagine all that follow. We're going to start on the Greenwich Prime Meridian in front of the atomic clock, where all time on Earth is synchronized. With that, we're going to fill the 00 longitude going through the Prime Meridian, where you can stand on one half of the world, the Western Hemisphere, the other half of the world, the Eastern Hemisphere, and we're going to fill that 00 longitude with lasers, so when our airships go through them, they are going to be psychedelic giants. And so we have the H9 helicopter path. That takes us over the O2 Dome, the Tower Bridge, past London Eye, Houses of Parliament, and Big Ben. That's our stage for racing around London for 3 hours. And with that, we're going to showcase what airships are, and that is one of the most environmental friendly forms of aviation possible. After all, the physics of airships, they're lighter than air. They don't spend any energy to be in the air. They float. And with that, that means to do what a gas-guzzling airplane can do, they take 75% less energy. That means, in that equation, 75% less fuel, 75% less pollution, 75% less cost to do what an airplane does. And this is going to where we transform the powers of entertainment and the powers of sports to inspire inventors to invent and amplify education. And so we're going to use all this in combination as we go from city to city around the world. And so I've described London. 2 weeks later, we're going to have pulled up our stakes, we're going to move our tents and take the flying circus to Berlin, where we will race around Berlin for 3 hours. 2 weeks after that, we have a stadium. It's called the Roman Colosseum. 2 weeks after that, it's Lagos, Nigeria. Then after that, we have the landing rights at the pyramids. We have the flyover rights at the Taj Mahal. We get to fly over the Twin Towers of Malaysia, Halong Bay. And so we're going to take in the most epic sights as our airships transit this planet. And in that, we're going to be, every 2 weeks, having this race such that when we start in London in September of 28, we will end in Paris of 29. Having circumnavigated the entire our planet Earth. And with that, we're going to be using this moment in the most amazing fashion. We're going to take our airships, and as we fly over the terrain of this planet, we're going to include UNESCO World Heritage Sites. And we're all doing this with purpose, because we are speaking of September to May, and that is we're going to get embedded in the global educational system of the world. And with that, with AI assisting us, with our production of the daily lesson plans, we're going to enable teachers to be inspiring teachers around the world where they can walk into their classrooms and go, where are the airships today? Geography, history, culture, math, science, and the environment. So we're going to use this as an educational tool for the world's next generation while they are forming their missions in life. And so this is a race about the environment as well.
Thank you, Don.
All right.
Amazing.
I could go on.
I know you can. So, you see what's going on. Passion is truly unstoppable. So, rendezvous in 28
Yes.
when we start. Thank you for that. All right, we go from the airs now. We dive into the sea, and we have scripts over here. So, Dimitri, the floor is yours.
Back into the ocean. So I'm a marine biologist by training, but I'm also considering myself an expert generalist. I work with engineers, with chemists, and I speak different languages, not, because people think that, if you're a type of scientist, you have to remain that type of scientist. So I've done a lot of things in my academic life, but recently I'm really looking at microplastics. Microplastics, you can see pictures there. Those are microfibers that you and I are generating right now, and that we are breathing and probably drinking, and if you were eating those sandwiches, you also ate them. So my questions are, what are those microplastics, right? And of course, how are they formed? Which is very interesting because you cannot manage something that you don't know how they are formed. Obviously, when are they produced? We are producing them right now. We don't realize that. Yeah, you're breathing my microplastics, sorry. I'm also working in the air, and we are also working with classrooms because there are about 3 pieces of microplastics in a relatively clean air. Do you know how much air you breathe in a day? 10,000 liters. So make the math. 3 times 10,000, that's how much plastic you inhale. Of course, a lot of it will stay in your nose, but still you will have a lot going into your lungs. And that's what we are interested in, and we should talk. Obviously, what are the mechanisms that help microplastic being distributed? We produce them here, but how come that your cousin back in the village down the mountain or back in Belgium will actually breed them tomorrow, or maybe even drink them? Where do they go? We talked about the ocean. I am a marine biologist. A lot of plastics do end up in the ocean for the macroplastics, the big pieces that Katerina is helping collecting to avoid them going into the ocean. But most of the microplastic is produced in the air, and that's very important. So who is impacted is also important. I'm a marine biologist, so I do work with whales and fishes and other things like that because they also are breeding what we create. On top of that, we obviously have to take care of ourselves. Then the question that people ask, is it toxic? And we are using AI. We have a collaboration with AxonJ to actually predict where those microplastics are and how to manage them, and of course, obviously, how we can count them in a very automated way. So these different focuses and these different questions are, empowering citizen scientists and students like you guys. We are all students, by the way. Using, of course, education, but we have to focus on solutions. We cannot just think about that's the problem and describe the problem. We also have to work on solutions. And so we are here today to provide at least one solution that we can all be part of so that we can save this planet. So thank you.
Thank you, Dimitri. All right, so you heard it's a lot about also data collection, whatever everybody is doing in the air, in the ocean, on our planet, on our balconies, everywhere. So at ActionJ, what we're doing, all our algorithms are based on nature. So I'll give you a simple example. We are using a feedback loop, so we're predicting company behavior. And with this company behavior, this is based on a cocktail of signals. And you see the signals, it's full transparent, and you see which signal has what weight in the algorithm, and you can give a feedback on that, and you're reinitiating the loop, so it's called reinforcement learning. But to give a simple example, the inspiration for reinforcement learning is coming from nature. How ants are looking for food. There's not a general ant that says on your balcony, hey, all my fellow ants, we go there to find bread. No, they randomly go out. And then one ant stumbles on a piece of bread, goes back to the nest, leaves a pheromone trail and says, there's bread over there, or there's something to eat there. There's a second ant that stumbles on that trace and reinforces it. Yes, that's correct. And you can do the test on your balcony. You'll have like a highway of ants at a certain point. Take the bread away and it dies out. That's what we call Darwinism as well. So you have lots of algorithms that are working like that. You have bad algorithms that are using, like ultrasounds. Look at neural networks. They're based on how your brain is working, etc., etc. So we think that all the answers, also AI and data-wise, are laying in nature. So that's our common red line that we have. And the thing is also, we need to learn and go back to nature to find better solutions. Because the other thing is as well, nature is very resilient. The problem is we're shifting the planet too fast and nature cannot digest that. But nature has always a solution. And nature has the best solution that way, is never creates a byproduct. We humans, when we create something, we're creating a byproduct. And that's always the problem. So that's also something that we need to keep in the back of our mind. So what we saw today, we saw water with Katerina and Dimitri. We saw air with Antoine and Don. We saw land with Marina and Werner. We saw technology, AI. And basically, those all floating together. And on the next slide, we want to announce something that we're going to create. It's called CPR for the planet. Because like we said in the beginning, we don't want to work in silos, but today's science is working in silos. But they start stepping away from that because pollution is not working in silos. We have earth, air, land, etc. It's all intercommunicating. And that's why we think we need to pull that together into CPR of the planet. Maybe, Dimitri, you can explain that a bit?
Yeah, so currently, for the last many decades, science has been operating into silo more than ever. So you are doing medicine, you are going to become a liver expert, you are going to be a skin expert. Yet your body, it's not just a liver. You have to rely on other organs. The same for the trees. You are planting trees, and to keep the forest healthy, well, you need to take care of the soil, right? And so the concept here is that we are pushing science into silos, and we have to break apart those silos. It is important to understand the content of each silo from bottom to top and top to bottom. That's very important. But once you know that, once you know your ecosystem, once you know your tree, once you know your organ, then we need to break those silos. And that's
we start shifting then.
Yes, exactly. And that's what the shift would be, to create CPR for the planet, where we are going to use what biology has done, which is basically gap junctions. A gap junction is a connector between things that are different so that there is a faster communication. So those gap junctions will help us now look at problems from from where they start to their end through those different ecosystems. So we are now looking at this transversal analysis of problems through ecosystems. So that means that an institute for the CPR for the planet will be an institute that would be focused on a problem and hire people that can address this problem from start to finish. You have an issue with pesticides in agriculture, you need to work with a pesticide chemist, with a soil chemist, with a tree person, with an air person, all these working together and not in silos. I will be working on microplastics. I want to work with someone that is a polymer chemist that can start modifying the microplastics. But imagine they say, if they say on their end, we are modifying the microplastic, but at the end, their modification might help the microplastic to biodegrade, but it might also release something that will maybe kill us. That's not a solution. Working together is what's needed, and the CPR for the planet can be really used for everything one can imagine. It will be the best solution that we have to get out of the silos, talk to each other, and work together as a community, like nature does. And we hope that you will be jumping on this train with us here at Davos, where we can start and launch the CPR for the Planet movement, and hopefully gather enough movement to make it happen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can you explain a little bit more about the whale traffic over there? So that's as a concrete example. We talked about microplastics with Katrina and microplastics with you.
Yeah, so we work on whales, and as you might know, a lot of people like whales and dolphins, and a lot of them are found, hit by boats, because the maritime industry has set lines of boats. So when you go here, when you come and drive somewhere, you have your Google map or your Waze. Why don't we have a Waze that will be with the traffic of the ships together with the traffic of the whales? We will use, obviously, AI to predict where the whales will navigate, at what time and at what time of the year, certainly at what speed. So we need to work with a whale biologist. We need to work with people that do, marine science and acoustics, and of course develop, this interface. That's the only way we can actually come up with solutions that are practical and that would help environmental aspects as well as the maritime industry, obviously.
Yeah, and that's a new shift that you're seeing, and Antoine was talking about also, that is measuring inside and measuring outside, and see how you interconnect that. That's going outside of your silos. Same with whales, same with microplastics, same with trees, same with zeppelins, etc., etc. So yeah, so that's the view on CPR for the planet. We're going to work with that. We'll probably have questions about that in a minute as well. So the aim is also to present that at different platforms, and Dimitri is going to present that also at different forums internationally, and we're going to write also some kind of scientific article around that to publicize that as well. So that's in the planning. All right. So we have now 15 minutes for Q&A. So Greg, are you ready to pass on the mic? So like the previous panel, for the people that were there, please state your name, what you're doing, and to whom you're asking the question. Yes, in the back. Oh, no, here, it's fine. Yeah, Greg, you were already running. And then afterwards in the back.
Hi, is this on? Hi, my name's Shane. I build business cases with AI. I was pitching yesterday, but here's my question to you. I sold sustainability solutions at SAP for years by writing good business cases for it. So I'm hearing a bit of ROI here and there, but what are your thoughts on delivering more value proposition messaging for this initiative?
To whom is this question?
Anyone who wants to answer.
Okay. Yes, you're holding the mic,
Yeah,
so.
I think that I'm sure you understand the value of bringing the community aspect to having a better value proposition, right? I think that a lot of people right now do not see the value proposition outside of their silos. And I think, again, breaking the walls and going from silos to silos and seeing the value proposition for the community, for society, is a mindset that has to be shifted. And it is not easy. Changing people is not easy. Changing you guys will be right? We cannot do that in a minute. So this is what I think this movement has to be. It has to be a movement rather than a structure that we impose onto people. And so if you are into that movement, this is how it's going to start.
Well, here's my offer to you. I will do it for free for you. I'll write that.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. In the back, sorry, there, in the back. Yeah, so it was, yeah, you go quickly, yeah.
Well, thank you for having such a wonderful panel. It's like you've assembled almost like the Avengers in terms of biodiversity. I'm Ishan. I run Ecodus, which is more climate change based, more a capitalistic approach to climate change. And I built 16 products, and sadly I failed to address biodiversity. So very broad question anyone could answer, but what do you think the most upfront mitigation of risks in the context of biodiversity is? And another follow-up question is, I think nature will always find a way, life will find a way, Jurassic Park taught us that. But how do you think humanity will find a way alongside nature?
Okay, I love those two questions because they're really connected with reality. And I want the dinosaurs in business, not saying age, in the panel to answer those ones. So get your Jurassic Park out.
Thank you for calling us Avengers of nature. And it's very nice, thank you. Well, I mean, biodiversity is so broad. I'm sure you know the planetary boundaries, and the biodiversity is one of the very important 9 planetary boundaries. Well, I think personally, and of course there are certainly other very good answers to this question, but the best way to mitigate, I think we need to reconnect with nature, because everybody knows, when you learn to love something, you protect it. And if you spend time in nature, and that's what happened a little bit the last generations, is that we went to live in cities and etc. And everybody's getting concentrated in cities. We lose contact with nature, and we forget about everything we can learn from it, everything it brings. Whether it's for pharmaceutical solutions. I mean, like Jean-Philippe said, nature has already invented everything we need actually. So we need to. That's one thing. Of course, there are many other things, but one thing is to reconnect with nature, and then we never lose ourselves. So that's my
amazing. Yes, Werner.
Yeah,
You're the second dinosaur to answer.
Yeah, thank you. I want to add something what Antoine is saying. When I started practically almost 20 years ago, the local population didn't want forests. Because a lot of youngsters, you need to know, in Africa, 75% is younger than 30 years. They didn't know anything about forests because they were used to Sahelian land. So I needed to convince them. And I convinced them by promising them, once there is a forest with biodiversity, they will increase their welfare. And now these days, villagers are coming to us to ask, when are you coming to plant trees? So it's just to give hope and realize that hope, and then you can connect.
Yes. Thank you for this, Werner.
The first thing, if I can say, is the first one is biodiversity was a word that nobody knows since a few years. I give a lot of conference of that in university and schools for children to sensibilize with workshop, and nobody knows what does it mean and what is the impact. So it's normal that we have first of all to organize workshop, fun, and reconnect to nature.
Exactly. We need to first understand your ecosystem. To go back to the next question in 1 second, I think it's very important to have a business model, to have proven an ROI, because otherwise nothing is going to fly. That's why I need to specify, you see whale traffic, because it's slowing down boats. It's not only having an impact. So you need to point that out. You need to work with that. You need to build around that, show ROI figures, top line and bottom line. So this is really, like, we're not escaping that. That's how the world is working. Point. So yes. Short, because we have
3 words. Biomimicry, how to learn with nature, not on top of nature. That's 2 words. The last one, One Health. The One Health movement is that healthy society can only be well if they have a healthy environment. And that comes with the biodiversity and other things like that.
Yeah, and that's already an ROI as such.
Exactly.
Huh?
And if we take care of that, we'll be good.
Yes, finally your question.
Sure, and thank you so much. Super interesting. My name is Simon Aboud. I'm doing a lot of things, but mostly a youth empowerment activist, if anything. And I'd love to drop the multi-generational conversation here. Obviously, you do have those very young people that only know what they know, which is very limited, and you have all the more senior, seasoned people that have all this reference of elements. I'm curious, CPR for the planet. As you're talking about the business plan, I'd love to hear if you already thought about the communication aspect and the multi-generational engagement.
The answer is yes, and it starts with the very youth, as you know, because us older ones, we already are set in our mind, and it is very hard to change us, right? The new generation is who we can impact and have new habits being built into what they would do every day, making them aware of the weaknesses of the system of today so that we can have better systems. That's my...
Yes, somebody else wants to answer this?
I
Don?
can answer.
Speak straight into the mic, Don.
All right. What we're looking at doing with the World Sky Games is that educational element that is going to be a part of the world's next generation. We're going to be presenting to them the questions of their environment. We're going to be showcasing to them that by using lighter than air, we can eliminate our dependency on the infrastructure, the grid that is ever expanding. Because airships from the Arctic to the equator to the Antarctic do not need a road. They do not need a railroad. They do not need a harbor. They do not need a runway. And every government in the world which has that right-of-way expansion and everything that gets in that right-of-way, they destroy. This is going to be a way where children, the students of the world, can go and ask their parents, why are we doing this and why aren't we changing now? So the question on how we change starts with education.
Thank you, Don. Amen to that. Next question, yes.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for the panel. I woke up very early to come here and listen, so and it didn't disappoint. Thank you. My question is kind of for everybody.
Who are you first?
Sorry.
Yeah.
My name is Douglas Erickson. I'm the CEO of Kanga Wildlife. It's a conservation facility in South Africa that houses 90 animal species, most of them endangered. And I also am the founder of Project ZOA, which is a zoological open architecture aimed at creating the ecological intelligence data set for AI querying and AI alignment infrastructure. My question is a bit two-part, but the first part is, how would we get involved with CPR for the Planet as an organization to sort of fill exactly what you're talking about, the gaps in the data sets, but then also, what is your opinion on AI alignment in terms of an existential crisis towards biodiversity preservation?
Thank you. Again, amazing questions.
Send me an email.
Yes. I'll answer to the first part, and then you can take over, and then maybe Antoine can answer to that one as well. Very important is indeed we want to interconnect those data, and we want to work because like when we work together, we can like crossroads those silos, and we get more intelligence because pollution, whatever, conservation, biodiversity doesn't stop at one silo. So for me, that's a very important one. That's one thing. The second thing is, yes, you need to send an email to Dimitri, and then you can talk further, Dimitri.
Yeah, we start looking at wildlife actually in terms of microplastic because it's global and how that affects the brain and other behaviors. So we can talk about this. Now, in terms of AI, we want to see AI as something positive in terms of how can we predict, for example, once we know air quality changing. Air quality might be full of chemicals as well as microplastics and dust. Can we predict how these clouds of particles that can be very damaging for your wildlife, the animals, the species you have, can be impacted and where it's going to go based on wind and other criteria. There is that, but there is also how can we use AI once you take a sample, a biological sample, blood sample, or anything else from your specific specimen, can you quickly quantify how much plastic there is so that you can have a quick feedback on how to do and how to deal with this animal. So AI for me is becoming a tool to accelerate decision-making processes so that you can have a better management of your species, but it could be also your trees or your crop, right?
So we discussed that also in the previous panel. Is like to make the scientists to even be more superhumans or more super scientists with the extra data and predictions that are generated. Antoine, you wanted to say something about that? I think you did.
Not
Please,
really,
please give the mic.
maybe just a general thought about conservation and anything actually we discussed today is because I founded 20 years ago a company specialized in climate action, and we developed like 15 climate projects in Africa, and we've been busy with all types of things that actually value carbon. And for whales, it's the same. For nature in general, we've never put a value on nature. And I know it's a very controversial idea to put a value on nature because it's free at the moment. And that's always been the problem. We've destroyed nature because it's free. The day you put a real value on nature, and thanks to AI and other systems today, we will be able to more and more value more correctly and it's called the ecosystem services that nature offers for free for us today. And we've tried in the past already to try to get into boards and the CFO, because at some point, if we talk about ROI, etc., at some point you need to tell them what's it going to be, what's going to make as a difference to conserve these wildlife, etc. But if it's free, there's no P&L. It's not on your P&L.
It should be part of the ROI calculation.
Yes, exactly.
I believe,
and so we need to put back a value on nature. I know a lot of NGOs hate it, to say, okay, we need to put the financial value on nature, because it's horrible to do that, but you have to do it. Otherwise, people just forget it. And I think that's one of the solutions also for biodiversity. All the services, and Marina explained it also really well, is all the services provided by bees, by insects, by everything that makes sure that we have a stable production of crops, etc. And even birds, insects, birds eat insects that kill your crops, etc. So there is an equilibrium in nature that is free, and we need to put a value on that before people can really change it.
I don't know who has the mic.
Yeah, I have.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
My name is Mihaela Cosma, and I was working on CPR planet starting 1980. In 1980, I created a prototype to study pollution. I went to uncharted caves, galleries. I measured zero pollution. The prototype.
Speak in the microphone, please, because
Okay.
we're recording.
Yeah. The prototype was I built a CO2 laser and a fog chamber where I studied the aerosol. So comparing the two radiations, I determined how much pollution it was. That was part of my master's degree in physics of the atmosphere, meteorology, seismology. And continuing with the medical physics, I created now a software, like a lab, that is simulating the nanoparticles that are in our brains, and it's calculating the minimum energy necessary that they will be annihilated. It's based on using AI, LLM, and Monte Carlo simulation that
Okay.
is validating the concept. It's a new concept, and it can be applied not only to brain. It's a general concept. It's a software. It's a lab. So it's an educational.
Amazing.
We can discuss.
Amazing.
I'm willing to collaborate because
Please talk to Dimitri.
CPR.
Send him an email as well.
CPR for planet. I
Yeah.
worked for more than 40 years. For.
Yeah, so let's make sure we understand CPR the planet it is not new. Indigenous people had it before us. They lived in harmony with nature. You want to save the wildlife, you need to show respect to the wildlife, right? It's back to the One Health movement. And so right now, CPR for the planet is bringing back these concepts with the level of how human brains work in terms of driving this as a business.
Exactly. That's why I like also what Antoine said. You need to put a value on it.
Yeah.
Then you start respecting it. Yes, we have another question, and we need to round up afterwards.
Yes,
Yes.
I have a question regarding putting value on the nature, because here in Davos, I've been to some meetings and they say that the way to go is to privatize nature. And I just would like to ask Antoine, what are the benefits and what are the dangers to do that? Because they talk about the only solution, and I just would like to hear about the dangers of doing that. Thank you.
Yes, that's a complex question, but I think everything depends on what they mean exactly by privatizing. You could, because what you've seen, indigenous people, they've lived in harmony with nature, and I think if you want to privatize it, I think you need to involve the people that have been living in harmony with their environment, and they only take what they really need.
Yeah, but sorry to interrupt you, but what I think we're meaning over here in the spirit of Davos is going on is the geopolitical, like we all say, claim Greenland because of its resources, claim that land and privatize it and then work with that.
Yeah, I was coming to that. It's if you privatize it, but you take it away from the local communities, it's never going to work. You need to involve the local populations. Because it's the same with climate change. I think Werner also said it. Climate projects, conservation projects only work if you involve the local people and if they benefit from it as well. Otherwise, it doesn't work. So, privatizing, no. If you privatize in the benefit of the local population to protect from external extractors, yes, then of course.
I didn't know that microplastics are damaging the brain.
Yes.
And now I understand some speeches of yesterday.
Very good. You see, knowledge never comes too late, and you learn every day. All right. Are there other questions to round up? If not, please mingle with the panel afterwards. Create your shift moment or your Davos moment. And yes, send emails and connect. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you, panel.
Thank you. Very good. Yeah, you